And
Mm.
when I first heard of paint night, something clicked in the back of my head, and it was like, I am supposed to be doing this. I am an
Yeah.
entertainer, and I am an artist, but I wasn't really a painter at that time, Tony. I kind of started painting when I started deciding I'm going to do this for a living, which is, I'm a crazy person when you think about it. It worked out. Um, it worked out.
This is the Living Numbers Podcast, and I am your host, Tony Rambles. This is the show where everyone's interesting if you ask the right questions. Before we start, I have 4 appeals in 20 seconds. Time me, ready, set, go. Number 1, share, rate, review, 5 stars. Big help. Number 2, subscribe on Apple and Spotify for the behind the scenes content. Me and Anjl just had an amazing conversation, and we will get to more stuff later. Number 3, follow on IG and TikTok at the Living Numbers Podcast. And number 4, I got the merch link in the description. Cop a hoodie, cop a t-shirt, and scene. I think I got that in 20 seconds.
That
I
was
think I
so
did.
good.
Okay. Really? I mean, I run this
Yeah.
thing down, 100 times, but I do my best. You got to have
It
some
was so
stuff
good.
that's everywhere, and then we get to the cool intros. Like I'm about to give Anjl, so whenever we have someone on for the first time, I have to bring them in the right way. So, hailing from, okay, I remixed how to say this, and I practice Okunamawak,
So
Wisconsin.
close. So close.
Dang.
So
Okay.
close.
Correct me when I finished.
Yeah.
Our guest earned her master's in fine art from Mount Mary University. For the past decade plus, she's been a mixture of these 3 things. At the very least, I'm sure there are going to be things that I have not found out. Graphic design illustrator, an improvisational athlete, and an independent musician. She's the founder of Brushcapades, where they use entertainment to encourage creativity, meditative essence, and a joy for painting. Her happy clients include Amazon, Disney, Google, and many, many more. I'm sure you've heard of it. She encourages people to create their own masterpiece, but most importantly, to have fun in the process. Artist, improviser, and photogenic genius, inside joke there, I present the Anjl Rodee. Say hello to the people.
I just had to add my own crowd noise there. Hello. Hello.
She's such a character. And before we kick off this first number, I have to tell y'all how I found Anjl. So I'm on this website called, what is it called? Matchmaker.fm. Not to be confused
Matchmaker.fm,
with
which
any dating
sounds it's
sites.
going in a different direction. Exactly.
Exactly. And I'm scrolling, and you see a bunch of people. They have their nice headshots, and they look very professional. And then Anjl is like literally attacking me through the screen with like paintbrushes and pencils. And she's got this big smile, and there's a lot of color. I'm like, that's the person I need right there. I don't know what she does. I don't know what's happening. I'm guessing there's some artistry here, but that's the kind of energy I need on the show. So I reached
So
out to
good.
Anjl, and she was like, yes. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's set it up. So I'll send her my link, and here we are.
Here we
Anjl, say
are.
hello.
First of all, I'm going to tell you how to pronounce my hometown. That
Yes.
word is pronounced Bedford Falls. You can just say Bedford Falls. It's the same thing. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
this is the most adorable little town. Oconomowoc. Oconomowoc. That's
Oconomowoc.
it. Yep. Midway
I
between
I
Milwaukee and
started with
Madison.
the hard
For those of
O.
you looking it up at home,
I started
you
with
did,
the
yeah.
hard O, and then I saw like a coup in something. I was like,
So many O's.
okay, let's just.
So many
All
O's. Who
right.
could
So
focus
actually,
after the second O? Seriously,
I have
you
no
lose your
idea.
trail of thought.
Whose idea was this? And I'm
Right?
telling you, I went over this thing like multiple times. I'm like,
Do you want to
just
know the
sound it
story?
out, Tony.
You want to know the myth?
Okay,
It's a
wait.
Native American
First
name,
number.
actually. Okay,
It's perfect. It's perfect because that's exactly where we're going here. Okay, first
so good.
number. Our
Yes,
her population is 15,712.
I
That's
didn't
what I
even know
saw
that.
online. It's so small. Like it's a tiny town. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
go ahead now. What is the
So
legend?
the legend is that the Native Americans, I'm going to guess the Potawatomi tribe, started near Lake Michigan, started walking west. They got here and said, "I can no more walk. I can." I know, but that's the legend. I didn't make this up, Tony. But it's an easy
That
way to kind of remember how to pronounce it.
maybe. We are already
That's the
off the
legend.
rails,
Oh my
and I love it.
goodness. This town, I grew up here, and I
Hmm.
actually left it when there were only 9,000 people living here when I was 18 years old, moved to the big city of Milwaukee.
Mm.
And from there, I moved to the bigger city of Seattle. And while I was there, I'm watching the Gilmore Girls one day, and I'm like, I wish I lived in a small town where everybody knows the postmaster's name. Hang on, I grew up in that town. So here I am again. And I feel like kind of like an observer in this town. I do look at it
Mm.
like it's Bedford Falls. It's got that tiny little main street, and you can just see Jimmy Stewart running down. Merry Christmas, Mr. Potter. You can. It's. I literally walk downtown saying that, and nobody looks at me like I'm crazy because you just expect it here. It's just lovely.
Wow. So were you like, okay, soon as I can, I'm getting out of this place? Did you grow up like that, or it was like, well, there's not enough opportunity here? Like, what was the thinking? Because you grew up in this town, this
Mm,
is all you
yeah.
know. Had
Yep.
you ever been to any big cities like before you moved? Like, what was your
Um,
experience with this town
Not
and
so
then
much. Yeah,
coming to
literally
age?
grew up on a farm outside of Oconomowoc. I wasn't even brought up in the big town of Oconomowoc.
Oh, wow.
We're halfway between Milwaukee and Madison, but really didn't spend a lot of time in either. I went off to college and never came home. And as an artist and a musician, you just kind of, big towns are going to be your thing.
Mm,
Moved to Milwaukee, um, raised kids there, and then one of my kids moved to Seattle. I ended up moving there, and a decade later, just came back to my tiny little hometown. And I really only came back here after I turned 18 for like holidays. It feels like a
mhm,
new town to me, even though it also feels
mm.
like my family's bones are here, which I'm kind of enjoying that feeling too. Yeah,
What was the difference? We're gonna start with going from hometown to Madison, where
yeah.
you went to school. Let's
Milwaukee,
start
Milwaukee.
there.
Yeah,
Milwaukee, sorry.
yeah. Yep.
How was that transition?
It was fine, although, I ended up going to a UW school at first because, I got accepted into the big, amazing art school, but didn't feel art schooly enough. I didn't own a lot of black clothing at the time, and, didn't feel arty enough for the big leagues. So,
Mm,
did a few years at the UW school, and then went to Mount Mary College, which I really loved. I really loved it there. It's yeah, smaller school, but a good reputation. Yeah, it was good.
mm.
Yeah.
So you went from University of Wisconsin to
Hmm.
Mount Mary. Why did you
Hmm.
feel like you belonged at that school? What was it about it that made you go, okay, yeah, this is the place for me?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you, but don't judge me.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Okay.
I had a dream. This is gonna sound so dark. Oh my gosh, but I did. I had a dream. It's a beautiful white brick, beautiful
Mm.
old school, right? I had a dream where I jumped off the top of it, Tony. I can't explain it, but I felt kind of connected to the place after that. Honest to God. Honest to goodness, yeah. That's uh that's what made me go. I'm just gonna look and see what it's what school is like because I know what the roof
Let's
is
check it
like.
out.
That was dark. I didn't land. I just that was the dream. Weird, I know, but I kind
Hmm,
of like the idea of looking for signs, and I just kind of felt like that was one. Yeah.
hmm.
I like to pay attention to when people pass you on the street and they just say really, really random things. I like to think that is the least random thing said to me today because that message was given to me for a reason and I want to figure it out.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that happens to me um, often. And it probably happens to everybody often, but not everybody. I think a lot of people just go,
Pays
well, that was
attention.
random. And it keeps going. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you go up to that roof in real life and go, "Yep, this is the roof"?
Sort of, not all the way up because I don't think you can get up there, but all of the art
Hmm.
classes were on the 4th floor, which is as high as you can go in the building. That was the sign to me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're starting to make some sense here. You
Right?
go,
Yes.
"This is what happened, and now we're on the fourth floor. Like this is the place." Okay,
When I toured the school, it
so
was pretty much the same view.
like, yep, I remember it was
Up and
this spot.
down.
I was looking down.
Yeah.
So, what made you go get a master's? Because I'm just actually going to start my master's this summer.
Congrats.
I've been out
That's
of school
awesome.
for a while. Thank you. But you went like straight for it. Why?
I did.
Why stay in school longer?
Um, Because I loved school so much, I actually waited a little
Mm,
bit. I started school in the UW, then I got married and had babies, and then I went back to school. So I didn't finish till a little bit later. And I loved school so much and I felt so grateful to be there. I literally walked around kissing the walls and didn't want to be done. So I kept going. Yeah. Yeah. Really
mm.
really loved the idea of learning. I'm enrolled in no less than 3 online lesson plans right now as we speak for different things that I don't know how
Ooh,
to do that I'm interested in doing. Yeah. Yeah, I just
that's what I'm
learning
talking about.
is my jam.
Just take a shot. What are you enrolled in
Yes.
right now? What's on the docket?
Well, I've written a book that I want to
Ooh.
illustrate in a style that is nothing like my style. Excuse me.
Mm,
So, one of the courses I'm enrolled in is how to make unique, quirky character design. It's a character design course. One is in oil painting, which is when I went to school, I went to school for graphic arts, so I didn't take a lot of the fine artsy stuff. So
mm.
I learned how to paint in Photoshop because undo and delete and layers. So oil painting is something I'm feeling brave enough now to conquer. So another thing is oil painting.
There we go.
Yep. And what is the other thing? That's just some other kind. It's another art thing,
Another art
which
class, just
another
learning
art
away,
class. Yeah.
adding one skill on top of the next.
Oh, and
Okay.
storytelling. Taking a class in storytelling. I have
Ooh.
that master classes. Are you familiar? There.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. That's something I spend my dollars on.
Mm.
It's why I have
That
such
sounds very
an
interesting.
amazing look to my face right now. Thank you, Bobby Brown.
So you go from Milwaukee to Seattle. Now I know
Yes.
that's probably another like massive jump because now you're going from
Yeah.
Midwest, where I'm from, Detroit, Michigan,
Yeah. Oh, nice.
and yeah, you're jumping to the West Coast. And Seattle's like this kind of
Mm,
hipster town.
yes.
So what is that difference like? What happens when you get off the plane and you're like, oh, that's really different, right? Besides all the Starbucks.
Besides all the Starbucks, the other thing that hit me was every home has 4 garbage cans outside of it. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I have 2 of those figured out. I don't know what the other 2 are
Hmm,
for. I don't know what to put in
right.
there. So that was one thing. Everything is recycled in its place. And amazing, Seattle. Love you, and I love all the garbage cans. Um, and it's a the Seattle freeze is a thing. It's I don't know if that's a term that you are
Hmm,
familiar with. Everybody is
I am
super,
not.
super, super, super friendly, but they will never invite you home for lunch. It's
Hmm.
called the Seattle Freeze, and it's not that they are adverse to friendships. It just doesn't occur. It's just a different culture than where I grew up, where tailgating also a thing here, not a thing there. And
They
people
don't
at a tailgate
tailgate?
here will. You don't tailgate?
No, they
Oh
don't.
no, they don't tailgate. They don't tailgate. No, primarily,
Hmm.
well, they just don't. But one of the reasons might be both of the stadiums are right downtown. There really isn't the big expanse of parking lots. There are parking structures. You can't really tailgate in there. Every
No.
once in a while, I live 2 blocks from the stadiums. Right, I lived downtown when I was there, and there was a tiny little parking lot off to the side that is maybe 3 blocks from the stadiums. And every once in a while, you could see somebody surreptitiously tailgating, like they're trying to hide it so they don't get in
Mm.
trouble. It's not like here where they actually have cans out for you to throw your coals in when you're done.
Yep.
But Seattle is so gorgeous, so gorgeous. You are 2 hours away from mountains, rainforest, desert,
Mm.
um, any kind of climate. It's just stunning. I loved it, and Seattle was really magical to me. I had a bit of a tough go when I first got there, and Seattle was just a super magical place to be. Yeah.
So why'd you end up leaving and then going back home?
About a year and a half ago, my aunt, who still
Hmm.
lives downtown in my old hometown, randomly called me because I knew that she rented the upper of her home for not a lot of money compared to what I was paying in downtown Seattle, like a fourth of
Oh
the price.
man,
And
Seattle's expensive.
Seattle's expensive. And I said to her, "Hey, if that guy ever moves out, let me know." And she called me 7 months later. I just got notice if you're interested. And I said yes. And then I had a little bit of a panic attack. And then I thought,
Uh-oh.
I can afford both. And I work entirely virtually. So I rented it. And then I spent the next year, literally a year, driving back and forth every 3 months with my cat. 2001 miles door to door. It would either take me 2 13-hour days if I really wanted to get there fast. But a lot of the
Wow.
time, Tony, I'd take 2 weeks and I'd hit every national park
Mm.
on the way. I hit Grand Canyon and Yosemite and Arches and Yellowstone and all of it. And another time I took Route 66 all the way back. And it was a lovely year, a really great way to spend the year. And then last fall, I started to notice that when I was there, I was wishing I was here. And so I took that as a
Mm.
sign.
That's the next
Me and my
sign.
science, right? My daughter is still there. Got out of my lease November 1st. I've been back to Seattle 3 times, so I've not given up on Seattle. I just don't have a space there. But yeah, yeah.
So, what was the most memorable part of making those drives back and forth? Because most people are not driving 2,000 miles ever.
Every 3 months. I know. Um,
Whew.
I well, let me just tell you, I ingested so many audiobooks, it's not even funny, and
Mm.
podcasts. And also I just love it. It's such a great time to just self-reflect and just take I tried to be so mindful of everything that I drove past because I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever do this again. Because I take a
Hmm.
different way every time. I saw so much of the country. Who gets to do that from the window of a car? Yeah, and I also tried to I do a thing called urban sketching. That's where you stop,
Hmm.
draw the stuff you're looking at while you are looking at it. So I tried to stop every now and again and um, paint the Grand Canyon or paint the Devil's Tower and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Just
Whatever it was.
whatever it was. Yeah, and I try to look ahead and look up old ghost towns or Corn Palace in Minnesota. Weird random things to go and check out along the way. Yeah.
Did you ever almost run out of gas somewhere, like in the middle of
Oh my
nowhere?
god, yes. Oh my god, yes, because you don't realize you think I-90 will just have gas stations every exit. Well, there are parts of the country where there are just no exits. the
Mm,
Badlands. You can go tens of miles without an exit, and I wasn't paying close attention. Might have been the first time that I made that trek. And I
mm,
remember it just being so close to empty. And I'm like, I got 20 miles and then I don't even know where I'm walking to. And so subconsciously start driving a little faster, thinking you're going to get, I don't know what the heck I was thinking it was going to happen. But as I'm going and I'm watching the thing go, you got 19 miles left, 18 miles
mm.
in the
Yep.
distance. I see the little neon red and green that I know is the price tag of some gas station up there. And ever since then, I never let it go below half a tank. So pretty meticulous about it since then. Never came close after that. Other than, high school. Does everybody run out of gas as a kid in high school? I think so. Because you only put
Uh,
$3 in at a time. Or is that just me?
yeah, that's all you have. This is the money left over that I didn't eat.
Yes,
So I
yes.
was
Is there change in
driving
the
from
in the
Houston.
in the thing?
It is all like half of it is quarters. Okay.
Yes, yes,
I was
found in between the
driving.
seats.
I was driving from Houston to El Paso, and it's 13 hours. It's a long, long stretch. It's basically from one end of Texas to the other end of Texas.
Wow.
And yeah, there is a Badlands making that
Yeah,
trip too, where it's just like desert.
yeah.
So of course, I am I'm like maybe like 19 or 20 at the time. And of course, that gas tank is getting down. I'm like, wait a second, like I don't see any place. So at some point you just gotta go, okay, I'm gonna exit and hopefully I run into something. And so thank God I did. But I just couldn't believe there were no gas stations. There was nothing. You just look and
Yeah,
there's nothing. Just the sky and the earth. Nothing in
yeah.
between. It's
Yes.
just
It's
that's it.
gorgeous, but it's scary. Yeah,
Man, very
yeah.
scary.
13
So
hours. That's half the trip from here to Seattle. You don't realize how big Texas
and I
is.
did it by myself
Wow.
all one shot. Yeah, it was I don't know if I could do that now. I've driven to Dallas and that's like 4 hours and sometimes I'm like, man, I'm sleepy. I need to I've driven to Iowa. I think that was 11 hours. I had a
Hmm.
job up there. So my dad is notorious for like driving everywhere. So that Iowa trip, I was with him. We were both going to a job, and so I think I drove like the whole way. And we driven like from Houston to Detroit multiple times. So yeah, we need to take like one of those, like a road trip. Maybe
It's an old
I don't
school
know. Who
thing.
knows where? Yeah, I don't think people do that anymore. Maybe
No.
if you're intentional about it, but
Hmm.
people would just like on a whim, like, yeah, I'm just going. Let's just take a road trip. I don't think it's times are different. Okay,
I think so too. Yeah. Yeah.
we're gonna jump to our next number, and you've already
Okay.
touched on this. It's oozing out of you. It's all over your background. Leo Buscaglia.
Yep.
He has
Buscaglia.
this
Yep.
hugs thing, right? There's like a certain number with each, and you know this. Okay, I see your head shaking. Says you need. I think this is like a daily hug quota. So you need 5 hugs to survive, 8 hugs to maintain, and 12 hugs to thrive. So
It's so
those are
many,
our
isn't it?
numbers. That
Those are high
that is
numbers.
so many. Very, and you got to be in contact with a lot of people in person. And man, 12 hugs. I could do it just because I'm a teacher. I see people every day. But I could just imagine if you're not seeing so many people, it'd be hard to get 12 hugs. Okay, art. Which one of these came first for you? Because you have acting, you do painting, you have the digital part of what you do. So
Hmm.
you're an artist through and through. You musician. So which one came first?
I'm gonna say that the art came first, just because when I was like, I'd win art contests in the second grade which meant I got to help
Mm.
decorate the bulletin board with my teacher. But I won poster contests in the fourth grade, and I won a summer art scholarship in the seventh grade. So it was always a thing. It was always
Mm.
kind of a gimme that I was gonna illustrate greeting cards or something. That was the big plan. Music came along later at 16. I took up the drums and I was horrible at it. They replaced me and put me up front and hand me the bass. So bass is my main instrument.
Mm.
And I felt braver with music than I did with art because I had a formative person when I was young kind of laugh at my efforts. And so while it was something I could do, it that kind of took the joy away from it. And
Mm.
so once music came, that was kind of a focus for me. I did art for a living. I became a graphic artist, a graphic designer, but I was laying out advertisements and stuff like that. Um, which sure it's creative, but I kind of thought as music as my creative outlet kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm.
Until like what was it, 2014 or something like that, when I actually I told you before I learned how to paint in Photoshop because undo and delete and layers, and that's how I painted and did all of my art. But I don't know what it was like. For those you living at home, I teach people about painting. I teach people how to paint, and
Mm.
when I first heard of paint night, something clicked in the back of my head, and it was like I am supposed to be doing this. I am an
Yeah.
entertainer, and I am an artist. But I wasn't really a painter at that time, Tony. I kind of started painting when I started deciding I'm going to do this for a living, which is I'm a crazy person when you think about it. It worked out.
Yes.
Um, it worked out. But the lessons that I learned along the way are the lessons I teach when I talk to people about it. It's like, no,
Mm.
yes, you can. Yes, you can do this. If you can write your name. My favorite art shapes are the parentheses and the soft V, which is a V that's got a rounded. Those two shapes can get you anywhere, artistically
Nice.
speaking. Yeah, yeah, and it's so good for you. Yeah, yeah, that's my thing. Now painting is my thing. I've got art, music is kind of taken a back seat. I'm old now, and the idea of 2 a.m.
Oh
loadouts
no.
not as enjoyable to me. For a little bit, I was in a children's band. We wrote nature-based songs for little kids. Loadout
Hmm.
time was 3 p.m. for that band, and that was amazing. And I also write parodies for menopause now, also
What?
amazing,
Wait a
but
sec-
no 2 a.m. loadout.
wait a second.
Oh, oh, yeah.
Please, parodies for menopause. Okay, please
M
explain.
Okay.
I'm
Sure,
just
let
enjoying the
me
show at this
I
point.
know that this is gonna be a subject near to your heart, and so we're gonna go there. Like, for instance, the song "Don't Worry, Be
Mhm.
Happy" now just lists all 34 symptoms of menopause. Your hair is thinning and your nails are brittle. You wanna kill someone, but just a little. Don't worry, be happy.
What is
Hot
happening?
hot child in the city is now hot flash in the city. I
Oh
I kinda got
man,
a knack for this. So
when
that's how I
you
spent my
figure it out,
pandemic quarantine.
when you figure out what you do, it's just natural. It just flows from you. It just happens. And
Yes.
sometimes you just it just
Yes.
starts to go like you talked about earlier, like you have like this creative brain and these ideas are always flowing. You're like, huh, what about this? Or hey, what about this? Or this is cool. I could do this. This maybe takes a little bit more work. And it's like this constant flow of creativity happening. So, like, what is the difference between that creativity when it's music versus acting versus painting? Do they look different? Do they come to
No.
you differently? What does that look like?
Nope. Nope. They don't look different, and they don't come to me differently because I feel like my voice is in everything. I'm a little quirky and a little wacky, and so my music is a little quirky and wacky, and so is my art, and so is my
Mm.
comedy, right? Um, you can't not create like yourself. You're
Mm,
in everything that you do. If you're doing it, I don't want to say if you're doing it right, because if you're doing it, you're doing it right, right? But if you're doing it
right,
bravely
right.
and authentically, your voice is going to be in there no matter what the thing is that you are doing. And I wish that art and music and stuff wasn't graded when we are kids, because
Mm,
it is so integral to what we are as a creature. It's scientifically proven to help with anxiety and depression and sleeplessness. We are the only living creature that creates, that makes things out of nothing, and everybody should be doing it. And this is my message to
yeah.
the planet. And it, maybe it's music, maybe it's knitting, maybe it's a really good sourdough. It's making something out of nothing, right? And so many people, when I think of a thing, I go and I do the thing. And that's what I
Mm,
meant. You asked me earlier about the who. I don't let that who, which sometimes is that little voice in your head, right? You've got the voice encouraging you and the one that's discouraging you.
mm,
Imposter syndrome is a thing for people. They don't even want to try playing a guitar if they've never done it before. Nah, I'm not going to be good at it. I can't carry a tune. I can't sing. I can't draw. That
right.
voice needs to be quelled, because you can and you should. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to give my kids. I tell basically the same stories over and over, right? But I have
Yes.
a class where I teach communications, and they have to get up in front of each other, and they have to talk. And for many people, that is the absolute worst
Yes.
thing in the world. And
Yes.
some people are already really good at it. So I have to
Yeah.
kind of challenge them in different ways. But I had them create a song after about their spring break.
Nice.
So I've done this before, and you ask kids, "Oh, how was your break?" They just go, "I didn't do anything." I'm like, "Okay, this is boring." Right? My two pillars are be creative, be entertaining. And so that is neither. So I'm like, "Okay, how can I get this? How can I make this maybe kind of fun? Maybe a little embarrassing?" And the song idea, because their kids are always have AirPods in, they're always listening to music. So I'm like, I know you know what a song sounds like. We sing happy birthday to you to people all day, every day, right? You
Yeah.
know what a song sounds like. So I don't want to hear any excuses from anybody. Oh, I don't know. No, no, cut the crap. So I'm like, okay, you got to make a song, and it has to be number one about your spring break, and number two, it has to be about what you've learned so far in the semester. So it's kind of a review. It's kind of priming them. Come on, hey, get back to learning mode. But it's also like this other thing where they go, I've never written a song before. I'm not an artist. I don't. I'm saying, you know what a song sounds like, right? Well, yes. Okay, then just make something that sounds like what you like, right? Those are the stipulations. And so you get kids and they're like, okay, I think I could do this. And some
Yes.
of them, they spend like real time. Like I've had kids like make instrumentals, and a lot of them will like parody another song, like what you just talked
Yeah.
about.
Mhm.
I had to make my own song too. And it went with Happy Birthday to You, right? So
Nice.
that license to create, and I say, as long as you get up here and get embarrassed, you're great. 300 for everybody. All right, because now if you could get up here and sing a song, something you don't do at all, when it's time to just make a presentation and talk, it's gonna be way easier. You're like,
Yes.
oh, that makes sense. I'm like, see, I'm not just having y'all make a song for no reason.
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to laugh at everybody, and yes, everyone will get their 100, but it's okay. We're all gonna laugh at each other, or all laugh with each other. Some of these
With
are
each
gonna be
other, right?
awful, and some of them might be like, okay, pretty good, but it's okay. Like it's all fine. You're gonna be okay. Okay, so
Yeah.
and then most of them do it because they want the grade, and some people don't, and they just get their zero because they didn't
Yeah.
participate, and we move on to the next thing. So that creative license, I think we all need it. Like for people to tell you, like, it's okay. This
Totally
does
agree.
not have to be perfect. Not looking for
Totally
anybody
agree.
to win Grammys in here. I'm just looking for you to try. So,
Totally. Does anything
I,
celebrate humanity more than that? When you go to karaoke, Who do you like to watch? The horrible singers or the really good singers? Boring, the really good singers. I love to watch. I love the bad ones are just the ones that you just want to hug them and buy them a beer after, and not because you feel bad for them, but because that's our connector as humans. That's what
mm,
being human is not being perfect, but it's something that we think people will judge us for if we're not perfect. But it is the thing that makes people feel connected to you. Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Like we're
yeah,
all just going
and
for it. Like
yeah,
nobody here can sing. We know that. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
we're gonna have a good time. Oh man, I love karaoke. It's such
yeah.
fun.
I do too.
Um, what happens when art gets frustrating for you? What does that look like, and how do you kind of figure that out?
Art gets frustrating for me when parameters are put on that I just can't
Mm,
wrap my brain around. As a graphic artist, as a commercial artist, sometimes people don't know what they want, they just know what they don't want. And there's also a deadline. That is hard and frustrating for me. That's when art feels like work,
mm,
but it's also super, super satisfying when you do figure it out. I needed to do a mural that an entire high school girls soccer team was going to do a little piece of, and their
mm.
mascot is a wolf. And so our first thought was to do a soccer field with a pack of wolves. I'm like, it's so
Okay.
linear. Soccer fields are so long and skinny. How are we going to make this interesting? And what I did instead was I finally made a big wolf face that kind of cropped out of the picture, and with a lot of solid black area on it. And inside the wolf's face, we added a lot of white to the color, but they could put whatever they wanted other than where the black is.
Mm,
They could put inspirational messages. They could use whatever colors they wanted, but use a lighter color if it was in an area that said light. Use a brighter color when it's in an area that said bright. That's all I put on their directions was black, bright, or light. They didn't even know what the image was going to look like when it was done, and it was so successful and so good. So overcoming the thing is so much better than it's so much more fulfilling than just,
mm.
oh, I get to paint a mountain today. I'm really good at that mountain. you know, a lot of my classes are just, we're painting a mountain. Awesome. I'm really good at that mountain. I'm really, really good at it and really successful at it every day. But it is the
Mhm.
challenging ones that I brag the most about when the day is over. And I
Like,
try to
because
remember that
there's yeah,
before I
there's that
get to the
story
front,
behind
when
it.
I'm yeah, exactly. When I'm at the frustrating thing, I remember how good it's gonna feel on the other side, and that keeps me going
Mm.
looking for the, answer, the solution. Yeah.
So are you always looking for more challenging pieces to do? Where you go, "Huh, I don't know if I can do that. That's the right one to choose." Or is it like this balance?
Yes, but it's not the artwork itself. Do you know where I am challenged the most, Tony? You mentioned
Mm,
before Bob Ross has 403 videos. Do you know how many I have? The Entertainer?
uh,
Take a stab.
85.
0. I have 0. I have 0 videos. I have 0 videos. How is that even a thing? How can that even be a thing when being in front of people makes me so happy and painting makes me so
Mm,
happy? How can I not have any videos? I've got a mental block as big as the wall of China that I cannot talk myself into making that video. That is my
wow.
own personal
That's the
block.
next
Yeah.
frontier.
That's my next frontier right there. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I keep trying to like bribe myself. Like, how about you just make a video of just your hand painting and then your face isn't in it? One on one, like I'm doing with you, I am fine. But if I'm just in a room by myself, and this is funny too, because I was a disc jockey for a while, which is also just you in a room by
Oh
yourself.
my goodness.
But I'm in, I turn the camera on and I do a lot of this. Uh, uh, I can't think. I can't spit words out. I don't think I'm funny. I don't think I'm entertaining. That is my that is my block.
You should have it. as a one-on-one with somebody and just have them record it.
Ooh, that's an awesome idea. That is an awesome idea. Yeah.
So like as you're explaining and doing your whole teacher thing, which is what you do clearly, um, once they record it, you go, all right, here we go. And they send it to you, set up a little Google Drive or OneDrive folder, and then you can check it out. So maybe because you talked about in business, which we'll get to your business in a second, we have to talk about music first. You talked about in business, like the stuff that you don't know how to do, hire somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
So this may be something that
Yeah.
that works. So
Yeah.
okay,
That's a great
I
idea.
am a huge music person, right? I listen to a ton of different music. We talked about all these guitars I have that I don't play. And what's your inspiration musically? Because you play bass
Hmm.
along with other things.
Hmm.
And so sometimes I'll let you answer that question first. Let me be a good host. What's your inspirations musically?
Um, Boy, that is a super, super good question. Especially since I
Mm,
don't, other than my little parodies, I don't really um, do the music anymore. I'm I'm gonna say um, well, I know it is actually the music that gives me the most joy. How about that? Dean
yeah.
Martin, Frank Sinatra. I'm totally into the Rat Pack standards, jazz standards.
Yes.
Oh, so good. Yeah, yeah. I would
Wow.
love to, if I had ample amounts of time, do a little lounge act. I'd probably have to make it funny somehow because I can't not make things funny. But I would love
Oh,
to,
yeah.
like a la SNL, like Bill Murray used to do his little lounge guy on SNL, but with some fine music as well. Just maybe some funny bits
Hmm.
in between with a character or something. But yeah,
Like
standards.
what's her name? From Friends.
Oh,
Phoebe.
yes, yes, Phoebe, exactly. Smelly cat would definitely be on your playlist.
Yeah. Oh man. Um, what else do you like to listen to? Like you get in the car right now. Okay, here we go. You get in the car, you're making your 2,000-mile journey. What's the first thing that you throw on?
I like guys with a little falsetto thing going, like Jeff Buckley or Andy
Mhm.
Stakansky. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a Canadian guy who hasn't made records in a little bit. I'm not super up on the popular music. I am sad to say, um, but I like guys who sing up in the higher register. I think that's just lovely. Gives me all the feels.
So do you listen to opera?
No, that's too loud. That's too aggressive.
I'm a big like 80s, 70s rock kind of guy. Uh, I was
Oh, you're
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
dig this. Do you
And
know what I did for 3 months in Seattle? I was the lead singer of What's Left of Steppenwolf.
get out of here.
Yep, yep. True story. True story. Yeah,
How did
I
that happen?
auditioned. I know. Well, half of Steppenwolf is from Seattle, and the other half is from Vancouver. They're fairly close together. In the 80s, when John Kay, the lead guy, really needed the drug money, he sold the name and the rights to all the music to somebody else. When he decided in the 80s and 90s that he wanted to start performing again, and so did the guys in Seattle, he reformed as John Steppenwolf Productions presents John Kay and Friends. And the group down here, Goldie McJohn was the keyboard player. Steppenwolf Productions, blah blah blah. And John Kay would tour up in Canada, and the other band would tour down in the U.S. And the U.S. band wanted to do a West Coast tour when I first moved to Seattle, and I auditioned and got hired as their opening act, doing a Led Zeppelin tribute, and they
Wow.
were also auditioning. Uh, guys to sing the Steppenwolf stuff and couldn't find anybody in time for the tour. So they asked if I'd do it. So for 3 months, I wouldn't pay to see a chick sing Born to Be Wild, but who am I to judge? It went fine. And it was
Wow.
really good stories. Really good stories.
Man, do
Yeah.
you have a
Yeah.
story that you can share?
Yes. One of my favorite stories. We played this large rally, and this woman comes up to me during a break or after the show, and she said, "Do you have an old man?" I said, "No, I don't have an old man." She said, "Because Ray wants to take you for a ride on his bike, but he wants to know first if you're crazy." And
Oh man.
because his last old lady was crazy, and I said, "How crazy are we talking?" And she said, "Well,
Uh-oh.
she ripped off half his mustache." And look, and Ray is missing half a mustache. And I said,
What is going
I
on?
might be that crazy." "Okay, then," she said, "respect." She walked away. That's my favorite story.
Man, where were you? What part of the country?
We did the West Coast, so down to Napa Valley-ish, from Seattle down, and then back up again. So a bunch of bike rallies and parties and festivals and that sort of thing. Yeah,
Man, that's
with
straightforward.
some
Hey,
benefits.
you
It was
gotta know,
cool.
man.
Are you crazy?
Okay. This is okay. I have one more art question. No, I actually have a
Yes.
couple. Let's
Okay.
just let this thing roll. So you do a lot of performing on stage. Have you
Mhm.
ever just crashed and burned like you just know it was awful, but the performance wasn't over? Like, has that ever happened?
I came close to a crash and burn. I just
Mm,
did a reunion show here in my hometown for a thing, but and I did one of my menopause things. Those were the days, and I got to a point where um, heard your voice and I saw your face and heard you call my name, and whatever chord I was trying to hit on the word name on my little ukulele, I couldn't think of the right chord, and I just kept trying different chords: D minor, name; G, name, name, and I couldn't get it right. And finally, someone in the audience yelled out, "Angel!" I said, "Thank you," and then I just moved on to the next next thing. That was a bit of a crash and burn, but nobody noticed because I thought it was a bit. Um, that was probably the worst. I don't mind crashing and burning,
I'm not
um,
surprised at all.
because um, because I do know, like everybody knows that part in Louie Louie where the singer comes into it early, right after the breakdown, the solo with the breakdown, and then it comes in another measure later. Happens in Mamas and the Papas song as well, and saw Cheryl Crow once, and she doing her own songs couldn't think of the lyrics. She goes, "You guys, I don't know what the next line is," and everybody just yelled at her, "We love you, we love you, we love you," and I'm like,
Wow.
nobody died today, nobody died today, and
We're
um,
good. We're good, guys.
it's probably happened a lot. I've been singing in band since I was 16, and I started facing the drummer because your nerves, and that's what you do. And so I lost my stage fright years and years ago, and I realized when things go wrong, either nobody notices or nobody cares, nobody judges. They just don't. They like that's when their heart pours out to you. Is that so bad?
Hmm.
No. I'm always pretty aware of that, so that's why I'm pretty fearless. Yeah, it has nothing to do with bravado. I just know I'm not losing my job today.
Right. It'll be fine. Like we're good here.
Everything's gonna
I'll be
be
back.
fine. Yeah,
I'll be back next
yeah,
week.
yes, exactly.
Uh, I remember one time I was singing because I sing at my church. I mean, I've been singing at my church for I don't know a decade at this point, and I got to some note, and I was just way too high somewhere where I had no business being. And I don't even remember what happened after that. I just know it was bad. It was really bad. Oh like, oh no. And if you perform enough times, there will be a time,
Yes,
especially
yes,
when we're talking about singing, because your voice is not always the same every time. Like sometimes you got to manage
yes,
your way through not having your best voice. And then some days
right,
you're like, oh man, I actually sound pretty good today.
right.
Uh, there was a time recently where we were singing this song. I've sang this song so many times, and I was just so offbeat, and I just could not find it. And I'm just like, y'all know the words, right? Because in church there's like this call and response kind of deal.
Yes.
So I'm like, help me out here, everybody. So,
Oh, that's totally happened to
oh man,
me.
this
And the wrong notes
yeah,
and your throat's too dry or you're too nervous and it just takes your voice and it's all happened to me. It doesn't come to my mind because I it doesn't yeah, just doesn't affect me.
doesn't phase you.
And like I said, it's not
Okay.
bravado. I just don't place the importance on them on mistakes. Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm up here doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. This art question is going to kind of lead us into the next and last number.
Okay.
And like, how do you do? Because you started off in like this virtual art world because of the painting and the story that you
Mhm.
told. Like, what's the difference in the process with tangible art, like stuff that you're actually painting in person, in that virtual art? Because I would guess that it's different. So explain that difference, for myself and our and the listener.
Do you mean a personal painting versus one I'm teaching, or one I'm teaching in person versus one I'm teaching virtually? That one?
Virtual teaching virtual and painting virtually versus painting in person and teaching painting in person.
Um, I I'm a pretty I'm pretty Leo Buscali-ish. I'm touchy feely, not in a creepy way, but I like to connect. I like to connect, and that's
Mm,
something
mhm.
that is missing from what I do. Um, Other than that, I in ways I kind of prefer this because there's no performance anxiety with people in their own living room versus in a room full of people where they're looking at a table full of people thinking mine is the worst one at this table.
Right,
There's
right.
that. And it's just worked out that even though I can't see anybody's canvases, and I can kind of joke about the fact that I'm not going to judge your canvas because I can't see it, but they all turn out, and
Mhm.
I kind of love the surprise. I When I'm in person, I don't ever give advice unless somebody asks for it. I But I feel like they don't ask as much in person. There's just some kind of a little bit of more in-person anxiety that happens. So I feel like my job
Mm,
is even more successful this way than when I had a room full of people. Everybody's getting the same attention from my face. Whereas if there's a room full of 50 people, I'm only going to pass by you maybe three times, right? And maybe you're
right.
going to miss an instruction because I'm on the other end of the room when I say a thing or give some advice, whereas everybody's getting me clearly this way. Um, and
Mm.
I'm not going to lie, the cleanup is much faster when I'm cleaning up after 50 people in a room. Oh my goodness, I just have to clean my own stuff up. Um, I'm this has worked out for me. This whole a lot of the workforce is at home now. I do
Mm,
mostly corporate events. I've just started doing public events lately because people have asked for it, and I miss it too. I miss the so I it's a little bit more informal, and I really get to know people who come back every other Friday or
right.
however often we do it, and we get a little bit more advanced and a little bit more advanced with the stuff that we do. Yeah, I'm really enjoying that because for a while, I do so many corporate events that um, I could just do that. But the public classes are a little bit different animal, and I really enjoy that. Yeah, I do miss people, Tony. I do. I sit in my studio a lot. I talk to a lot of people every day, but it's kind of weird because I don't spend all my time alone. It's a weird life we're living right now, isn't
It's
it?
different.
Yeah.
It's so different because so we
Yeah.
taught. I taught online. During
Mm-hmm.
our recent issues as a
Yeah.
world, and I hated it. I hated it. Hated it. Hated it. I need
Yeah.
to be next to people in person, like they can see your body language because right,
Mm-hmm.
93% of our communication is nonverbal, right?
Yes.
So if I'm trying to tell a joke and like I look at you a certain way, you know that it's a joke, as opposed to if you're not looking at the screen but you hear me say something, it
Yes.
can go it
Yes.
can go way, way left, which I've never
Yes.
had any issues like that. But there's just so much missing when you're not in person with people.
Right.
It doesn't feel it doesn't feel personal. I think,
Personal.
like you
Yeah.
said,
Hmm.
you're talking to people all day and you're with people all day, but it's not like being with people all
Exactly.
day,
Yeah.
So it's just a totally different feeling, like when you're in the room and you can get people's attention. Because like virtually, man, people would turn those cameras off and disappear. I've had kids
Yes.
tell me, Mr. Franklin, I was at work when I was in your class. Like I wasn't even at home. Or I turned it on, joined the meeting, and went back to sleep. Or I turned it on and I was playing video games. Like I wasn't doing the same thing because, typically I had my camera on. But
Mm,
I would go in and it just got to a point where I would go in, I would teach if a class is an hour, I would teach whatever I needed to teach for like, 15 minutes, give them the assignment, and then I would turn my camera off. I'm like, I'm not gonna
yeah.
just sit here.
Right.
There's no connection. Like this
Mm,
stinks. Man, I could not wait to get back to school. And at one point we went back, but we were teaching online from school. But I at least had the other teachers in the building
yes.
where I'm like, hey, man, me and this one guy who you would have never thought would be, great friends. He was right next door to me, kind of a not really a talker, pretty simple life kind of guy. He loves to golf. He comes to work, he gets his paycheck, does a good job, and he goes home. Like it's not me, I'm the social butterfly. I'm out. I like to. So this guy, we next door to each other for years, and we're still next door to each other. We just built a friendship in the bond. We still talk about those days when we would stand
Oh,
outside of our doors 15 minutes and just shoot the breeze and just
so
talk.
good.
And like that was something that we missed. And we had these super long lunches where we could just kind of relax and decompress. Now we're back to the sorry 30-minute lunches. I hate that part. But yes, it's totally different when you have people in the room with you that you can put your hand
Yes.
on their shoulder and you're like, it's okay. Like just keep painting.
Yes.
just
Yes.
just keep
Exactly.
going. So that actually brings us like to our business part, right? So
Okay.
uh our last number here, 403 videos by Bob Ross. I feel like I'm repeating that. You'll catch
It's
that in
important.
post. And so talk about like the corporate part, how you got into that, because you have brushcapades. You talk about doing the part at the bar every week.
Hmm.
So how did you get into the corporate side and you go, wait a second, like this could be my livelihood. I could actually do this for a living. How did
Yeah.
that go?
I feel like it right place at the right time. Being in Seattle,
Mm.
which is corporate headquarters for Amazon and Google and Microsoft. Expedia is there.
Nike?
Nordstrom's, Nike, REI. It's all headquartered there, right? And so they started calling and saying, "Do you do corporate events?" And I'd say yes, even if I didn't. And so that started to be, they'd come in during the day where I was teaching public classes at night, and then the world shut down. And one event planning company called me. They're just event planners, and they said, would you be able to do this thing? They were a company in Texas, and they're like, we have a client, and it was still during the pandemic, and it was later in the summer maybe, and they're like, would you do it outside if everybody was spread out? I said, yes, I would. And they said, great, because we already said yes to the client, and now we're trying to figure out how to get it done. I'm like, I would do the same thing. I would say yes, and then
Yes.
figure out how to do it. And so that company was my first. And I work with four corporate event planning companies, and I have 4 artists that work
Mm,
for me. And I because we're virtual, I teach companies all over the world. Like I said, I just did a group for Spotify in Sweden,
mm,
and I got to get up early for those because their happy hour time is different than our happy hour time.
yeah,
I've gotten up at 3 a.m. to teach classes in Japan for the bragging rights, just for the bragging rights. I live alone with a cat who ignores me. She doesn't care when I'm working. So,
exactly.
um, yeah, yeah. So, and as I go along, like I told you, I realize so many people are coming in excited about the idea but feeling really anxious about the thing. And when so I have talking points during the thing that just gives people permission to have fun and to
Mm,
just put the paint to canvas. It's just the important thing is to just start. Don't wait till you feel like you'll be good at it. Just do the thing and feel how that's meditative. Do it because it's good for you, not because you're good at it, because art
mm.
is like yoga. You're way better on day 800 than you are on day 1, but it's good for you on day 1. And so now my class is a
That's really
wellness
good.
thing as much as it's an entertainment thing, right? And there's real value in that. And so I that is where we're successful. I think I got a really important message, and whether I'm good at teaching or not, whether I'm a good artist or not, I got a lot of 5-star reviews. Not one of them says she's so good at art. It's not a thing. It's not important. I give you permission to have to enjoy it and to get the benefit of it. That's what I'm doing more than teaching you how to paint a thing. Yeah.
Where did that style come from? Because there's so much that can go into it, and there are different kinds of teachers, right? We've all been in
Right.
school,
Right.
you for many, many, many years. So, like,
Yeah.
how did you kind of come up with this style of this is how I want to teach it? This is how I want to make people feel when they come to my class.
Do you know what's crazy? I've never attended a paint and sip. I have no idea how other people do this. I have no idea.
Mm,
Um, but what I do when I first started, I would take a painting, I'd practice it and practice it and practice it, try to get it down to the time. I'm to the point now, and I've got enough of a system that you give me any painting, I'll figure out a way to teach it in 90 minutes. I know what
mm,
I need to get done by when. Um, and I've got a system as far as just covering the canvas. And I came up with the system to just to encourage bravery. Uh, yeah, that's it. So first thing you do is get rid of the white of the canvas, paint the sky blue, paint the grass green, and then you're just storytelling on top of that. A red box can easily become a barn, and a green puffball can easily
mm,
become a tree just by adding highlights and shadows. And that's just all doable and fun. And my mom was a therapist, and I have a feeling and that that figures in a lot. And we talked earlier, and you asked me what's more important, who, what, where, when, and why. And the why is my important. And the why is this good for
mm,
you? And why should you do it? And why are we here? Those are questions I try to answer during the class.
mm. What are some of
Yeah.
your talking points? What's the first one that you go with?
The first thing I do is after the canvas, we've painted half of it blue and the other half green, and I say, "We are not very far in yet. Are you enjoying this?" And they say, "Yes." And I say, "Painting can be a good mix of meditative yet anxiety-ridden activity. I know, but we're leaning toward the meditative." Oh, and the first thing I do is I'm like, "We're gonna draw. First thing we do is draw bonus activity," and I see the whites of their eyes, and then I have them with blue paint draw a line down the middle of the canvas, and then I say,
Mm,
we're done drawing. We're nailing this so far. Who'd have thought art would be so attainable and so enjoyable? And they giggle a little bit because all they've done is put a line in the middle. But really, that's it. That is the first step. And then after their canvas is just blue and green, I make them all turn them around. It's not far enough in that they'll feel self-conscious. They're not very far in. It's half blue and half green. But I make
Mm,
them hold them up so they can all see that already they're all different. And I'm like, can you imagine if Van Gogh and Andy Warhol were both in your class and trying to paint like each other? They'd have aneurysms. Your personality's already on your canvas, and it's going to be that way. I'm going to show you how I paint, but everything I say is a suggestion. You do you, and if
mm.
paint hits a canvas, you've nailed this. Those are, it's just a lot of that. A lot of this. We're creative. Making a mark is all that's important here. And if your marks are different than mine, that is awesome. Because if your paintings turn out looking like mine, I have done you a disservice. Yeah,
Mm, I like it. Creative
yeah,
freedom, the license.
yeah. And
Yeah.
when they hold them all up, everybody in the class starts doing this. John, I love what you did with the thing, and Janice, I love that color of your thing. They all just start doing that, and I say, do you notice that your brain is really doing this? Mine sucks, but everybody else has something super creative and amazing.
Ah,
I don't have a left brain lobe. My mom says I qualify for handicap parking, but I know that can't be true. If we're all thinking ours is the only sucky one, it can't be true. And we're nailing this. And they're like, yeah, we're nailing this. So yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that's more important than
Hmm.
how it turns out. Because if you enjoy doing it, you're going to enjoy what the painting looks like, even if it's wonky. If it's wonky, to me, that says you've got a playful personality because there it is on your canvas. How awesome is that? And they're like, yeah,
And what you'll
yeah,
remember is the story. Like, man, I remember when
yes,
we painted this, we were here, and the teacher was
yes,
like this, and this is who I was with, right? We're back to our who, what,
yes.
when, where, why, how, right? You
Yes.
start to remember
Yes.
those things, and it's less about what the painting looks like, unless you're
Yes.
really going in there trying to become like an artist. Um, it's all about the experience. Hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And what a great way to practice a little self-kindness because it's outside of ourself. It's not me trying to say, I'm an attractive human. It's like, I nailed that. You can do that. It's easier. That's an easy place to start. And it's also a great place to practice confidence and
Yeah.
all of that. Yeah. Bravery. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I feel
what?
like I do really an important thing, you know? I try to
I think you do.
yeah, yeah, I think I do.
These
Yeah,
outlets
I'm
are very
super
important.
lucky.
We all need
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, I
So
totally agree.
you have a story of
Mhm.
how improv saved your business.
Yeah. Improv started my business, right? Improv started my business because I was
Yep.
like, yes, and yeah, that's a thing. I'm gonna try that. I don't want to work in a bar. I'm just gonna buy easels and just invite some friends, practice on them, and then invite more people. And uh, people would call and say, "Can you do this?" Yes, yes, I can. And then I go figure out how to do it. Improv is totally the main, super important. That's where I learned my
Mm.
bravery on things, right? Can you draw a mural for 75 people? Yes. Ugh. How am I gonna figure and then
Of course
figuring
I
it
can.
out. I say yes, and then I figure it out. And yeah. So yeah, that's how
How
improv
often do
is
you get
my
out?
business.
How often do you get out and do improv now? Like just getting on the stage and just doing Angel. This is who I am.
Do you know what I do? I know it's there in Detroit. Have you ever heard of Comedy Sports?
I have
Are you in
not.
Detroit or are you in Texas now?
I'm in Texas,
Oh, where in Texas?
Houston.
Y There's one in Houston. I'm pretty sure there's one in Houston. Comedy Sports, one word with a Z on the end. It was born in the '80s. Comedy Sports is like Whose Line Is It Anyway, only with 2 teams and a referee. And they're playing the same games that Wayne Brady and the folks play, only playing
Oh
it as
yeah.
if it's a sport. And the
I'm in.
host is the referee, and the audience decides who's funnier, and that's who gets the points. And that's the comedy that I do. Yeah.
It's very funny that you mentioned that show because I was on TikTok and they have like a couple of pages on TikTok. And I was like, man, I bet I could do some of these in class. So I haven't gotten around to implementing it in a way that would be appropriate
Ooh,
for high
gotcha,
schoolers.
gotcha.
Uh, but I loved that show when it was on because I mean it was just one of those shows on network television that it was on, you would watch it. It was just like
Yes,
Seinfeld or Friends for me. You know, it was like the Drew Carey show. It was just one of those shows. Like if it's on, I'm watching. It doesn't really matter what episode it is, who's on there. It's just always going to be good.
yes. They've got high school programs. Look them up. Oh my gosh, what a great thing to do with your communication kids. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All
And
right. I
talk.
think I'm locked in. Okay. We've come without further ado, all right, through all of our technical difficulties to the last part of the show where I ask the three whats. You can answer these however long or however short, however creative you would like. Okay,
Okay.
first what? What's an opinion that you have that would be considered unpopular?
Um, everything is forgivable.
Mm,
Hmm. Hmm. So deep we could dive
okay.
into that, but
That I
we'll
mean
forgive.
that's I like it.
I catch flack for
Let's leave
that,
it
but
there.
we'll leave it there. We'll leave it
Blank
there.
canvas.
Perfect analogy.
If you weren't in, brushcapades, right?
Hmm.
What would you be doing?
Um, gosh, am I just the luckiest person you know? Because um, I paint for a living and I make people laugh for a living. I'm so lucky. What would I do?
Man, such a great life.
Yeah, yeah, I'm lucky. You know what I obsess about doing? So if I ever retire, people are like, "What are you gonna do when you
Mhm.
retire?" I'm like, "I paint. I paint sunsets. So what am I gonna do when I retire?" I'll
Retire
probably
when and where? Why?
you know what I would love to do is take an old camper Airstream or something and refurb it into an art studio and drive it around the country and park it in random places and paint with strangers. I
Mm,
think I would do that. Yeah.
that's right up your alley.
Yes, it's right up my alley. I don't think I'll stray very far from what I do now.
Okay, last what? What advice would you give to someone in high school? I take it back to my class. I'm like, hey,
Oh,
Angel,
so
this
good.
amazing person, she has something to tell you all. What would you say to those kids?
Whatever makes you different is your best thing. So own it and wear it proud on the outside of your shirt. Whatever it is that makes you different is your best thing. Is your best thing. Yeah, that's what
I
I would,
love it.
yeah. And
That's a great place.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, now I want you to tell the people where they can find you, right? Where they want, if they can book you, social medias, website, plug
Yes.
it all.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm highly Googleable because when I was 14, I decided the spelling of my name wasn't weird enough. So I made it phonetic. Now it just looks like I can't spell. But you know what? As a business owner, I'm highly Googleable. So it's A N as in Nancy, J L, then Rodee, super phonetic, ROD as in dog, Anjl Rodee. That's what I am on all the socials. Um, brushcapades.com is my
Hmm.
business. Also made that word up, but not as annoying as my first name. And yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, yeah. Please follow
Well,
me on the socials because I'm really trying to be
yes.
better about posting. And man, you'd think I'd be all over that, and I just struggle. I just struggle. I'm an
Oh,
old
tell me
lady,
about it.
Tony.
Oh man, Angel, thank you so much. I mean, we've
Yes,
been recording here for for a while,
we're old friends
and I
now.
think we're basically best friends. We're going to take a road trip together,
We're gonna see you at
and we're going to
Easter.
form our own band. We got
Yes,
our we got the band going.
that.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you for
Thank you,
laughing with
everybody.
us. listening to our great stories. And whatever makes you different, that's the best thing about you.
Mm.
Make sure you share, rate, review 5 stars. Subscribe on Apple and Spotify for the behind the scenes stuff. I'm sure there will be more laughs once we stop recording. And of course, follow me on IG and TikTok at the Living Numbers Podcast. You can find me on YouTube, everywhere you listen to what are those called? Podcasts? Yeah. And merch link in the description. Cop a hoodie, cop a t-shirt. Thank you all. And I will see you in the next Ramble. Voila.